The stars glittered against the void as the Earth exploration vessel Endurance slowed its approach toward the massive alien ship. Commander Alex Harmon stared through the viewport, his heart pounding. After centuries of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they finally had their answer. "Transmission incoming, Commander," said Lieutenant Samantha Wright, her fingers dancing across the control panel. "Put it on screen," Alex said, straightening his uniform. The screen flickered to life, revealing a slender, blue-skinned being with 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. Its mouth was small, and it had no visible nose. "Greetings, humans of Earth. I am Nivik, diplomatic representative of the Concordiate. We welcome you to the galactic community." Alex cleared his throat. "Thank you for your welcome. I am Commander Alex Harmon of Earth. We are honored to make your acquaintance." The alien blinked its upper eyes. "We have been observing your species for some time. Commander, your achievement of faster-than-light travel has qualified you for formal introduction." 3 days later, Alex sat in a conference room aboard the Concordiate vessel. The air smelled faintly of cinnamon and metal. 5 different alien species sat across from him and his small team. Nivik led the discussions. "We must assess compatibility before proceeding with formal relations," Nivik explained. "A series of simulations will help us understand each other better." Alex nodded, though something in Nivik's tone made him uneasy. The first simulation was simple, a trade negotiation where resources were limited. Alex and his team handled it well, finding a compromise that benefited all parties. The aliens exchanged glances. The second simulation introduced a crisis, a failing life support system with limited time to fix it. As the oxygen levels dropped in the simulation, Alex noticed the other aliens growing visibly distressed. His own team, however, became more focused, more efficient. "Interesting," whispered a green, insect-like alien to Nivik. The third simulation was brutal, a hostage situation with seemingly no good outcomes. The aliens advised retreat and acceptance of losses. Alex's team refused, creating a risky but effective rescue plan. When the simulation ended, the room fell silent. "Your approach was unexpected," Nivik said finally. "We don't leave our people behind," Alex replied simply. That night, Alex couldn't sleep. He snuck out of his quarters and took a walk around the permitted areas of the alien ship. As he passed a partially open door, he heard voices. "The humans show no signs of breaking," came Nivik's voice, "even when we increased the pressure to levels that would cripple Acceleran. Perhaps we haven't found their breaking point yet," another voice replied. "Or perhaps they don't have one in the conventional sense," said a third voice. "Look at their history. Wars, plagues, disasters. They emerge stronger each time." Alex moved closer to the door. "The simulations tomorrow will be more intense," Nivik said. "We must understand the human anomaly." "And if they truly don't break?" asked the second voice. A long pause followed. "Then we may have found the most dangerous species in the galaxy." Alex slipped away, his mind racing. The diplomatic meetings were actually tests, designed to find how much pressure humans could handle before breaking. He smiled grimly. If the aliens wanted to see human resilience, he would show them. The next morning, Alex briefed his team discreetly. "They're testing our breaking points, but we won't give them one." Samantha nodded. "So we show them what humans do under pressure." "Not everything," Alex cautioned. "Just enough to earn their respect, not their fear. Humans don't just endure breaking points. We thrive on them. But let's keep that our little secret for now." When the new simulation began, the aliens watched in fascination as the humans faced increasingly impossible scenarios with calm determination. What they didn't understand was that humans had been testing themselves against breaking points for their entire history, and they had never found one that couldn't be turned into an advantage. 6 months after first contact, Lieutenant Olivia Carter stood with her team of 5 human soldiers on the landing pad of the Concordia training facility. The air was thin, and the gravity slightly stronger than Earth normal. Perfect conditions to put strain on the humans from the start. "Welcome to Outpost Terex," said Commander Drax, a hulking reptilian alien with scarred scales and piercing yellow eyes. "You are here to join our interspecies military training program. We're honored to participate," Olivia said, standing tall despite the gravity pulling at her muscles. Drax led them through massive doors into a facility carved from black stone. Inside, they saw groups of aliens from at least 7 different species. Some had tentacles, others multiple limbs. All watched the humans with curious eyes. "Each species has unique strengths," Drax explained, "and limitations. Our training identifies these boundaries." Olivia exchanged glances with Sergeant Ben Walsh. They had been briefed about the Concordiate's fascination with breaking points. The first test came at dawn. All participants were deprived of food and water, then forced to run an obstacle course under the hot sun. One by one, alien participants quit when their bodies reached their limits. The humans kept going. "Fascinating," said a slender, purple-skinned scientist named Zira, watching from a platform. "Their heart rates are elevated, but they show no signs of quitting. They're actually encouraging each other," Drax noted, watching Ben help Private Jason Miller over a wall. "Push harder," Drax ordered on the 3rd day. The temperature in the training room dropped to freezing. Participants had to solve complex puzzles while enduring the cold. Several aliens withdrew, their bodies unable to function in the temperature. The humans huddled together, sharing warmth, and methodically worked through the puzzles. "They're adapting," Zira said, making notes on a tablet. "Instead of breaking individually, they strengthen collectively." On the 5th day, the test turned psychological. Each participant was isolated and subjected to sounds and images designed to create fear and panic. Olivia sat in darkness as terrifying images flashed before her eyes. She controlled her breathing, focusing on a mental image of Earth's blue skies. When the program ended, she emerged calm and collected. The alien participants were shaking or had requested early termination. Drax looked disturbed. "You show no signs of psychological distress," he said to Olivia. She shrugged. "We've seen worse." That night, Private Emma Nelson found Zira taking blood samples from Jason while he slept. "What are you doing?" Emma demanded. Zira jumped. "Research. We must understand how humans process stress biochemically." "Not without permission," Emma said firmly, waking Jason. Zira retreated, but not before saying, "You don't understand. We need to know what makes you different." Olivia called her team together in the early hours when they couldn't be monitored. "This isn't training," she said quietly. "It's an assessment. They're trying to find our breaking point." "Should we fake one?" Ben asked. Olivia thought for a moment. "No, but we shouldn't show everything we can do either. We need to be strong enough to earn respect, but not so strong they see us as a threat." The final test came a week later. All participants were placed in a simulation of a ship with failing systems. Resources were limited, and survival looked impossible. The alien teams calculated their odds, and most chose a quick, painless end over prolonged suffering. The humans rejected this option. "We can fix this," said Jason, examining the engine simulation. "We need to rewire the whole system," Emma suggested. They worked tirelessly, finding unconventional solutions while their bodies approached exhaustion. When the simulation ended, Drax and Zira stared at them in silence. "You knew you couldn't save everyone," Drax said finally. "But we could try," Olivia replied. Later, Olivia overheard Zira talking to Drax in a corridor. "They don't break, Commander. They bend, adapt, transform. The stress reshapes them instead of crushing them." "Is it just these 5, or all humans?" Drax wondered. "I don't know," Zira said. "But I'm afraid of what happens if we push them too far. They don't just endure. They seem to get stronger from it." Olivia smiled to herself as she walked away. The Concordiate still didn't understand. Humans have been forged in adversity for thousands of years. Every time they approached a breaking point, They didn't shatter. They evolved. Dr. Nathan Wells couldn't believe his luck. The Concordiat had invited him, a human xenobiologist, to their central research facility. The massive space station orbited a binary star system, its curved halls filled with the galaxy's greatest scientific minds. "Your work on comparative biology impressed us," said his guide, a tall, thin alien named Telex. "Few species master multiple biological systems so quickly." Nathan smiled politely. Humans are naturally curious. His quarters were comfortable, but monitored. Nathan knew this from the slight hum in the walls. The same technology Earth used in its own security systems. The Concordiat wasn't taking chances with their human guest. On his third day, while using the research database, Nathan noticed something odd. When he searched for information about species resistance to stress, the system blocked certain files. Curious, he tried again later when the lab was empty. Nathan had always been good with computers. His fingers moved quickly, bypassing the security protocol with tricks he learned in college. The restricted files opened, and what he read made his blood run cold. The Concordiat had encountered anomalous species before, species that adapted too quickly, that showed unusual resilience. All had been subjected to containment protocols that limited their expansion. Some had been quarantined to their home systems. Others had suffered mysterious plagues that reduced their populations to manageable levels. "They're afraid of us," Nathan whispered to himself. He dug deeper and found references to a secret faction within the Concordiat called the Preservers. They believed in maintaining galactic stability by controlling emerging species, and humanity was now on their list. Meanwhile, on a joint species space station near Jupiter, engineer Maria Reyes was having problems of her own. The alien engineers kept forgetting to include her in meetings. "Don't take it personally," said her supervisor. "The Concordiat species are still adjusting to humans." But Maria knew it was more than that. She noticed how the aliens watched her work with wary eyes, how they checked her calculations repeatedly, but never questioned their own. One night, working late in the maintenance tunnels, she met Krell, a short, stocky alien with gray skin and 6 fingers on each hand. "You work hard," he observed, helping her lift a heavy panel. "I have to prove myself," Maria said. Krell made a clicking sound that might have been laughter. "My species once had to prove ourselves too. We failed their test." "Test?" Maria asked. "What test?" "The breaking test," Krell said. "All new species face it. The Concordiat increases pressure until you break or submit. My people broke. We are now service workers and laborers." Maria felt a chill. "And what happens if a species doesn't break?" Krell's 4 eyes blinked slowly. "No one knows. It hasn't happened yet." That night, Maria couldn't sleep. She accessed the station's communication array and sent an encrypted message to Earth Command, reporting what she'd learned. At the same time, light years away, Nathan was doing the same. But when he tried to send his message, the system showed it as delivered while actually holding it in a buffer. Nathan frowned. They were blocking his communications. He tried a different approach, sending a personal message to his colleague Dr. Gary Peters. The message seemed innocent, talking about research and asking about Gary's daughter, but contained a hidden code warning about the Preservers and their plans. This message, too, was intercepted. Alarms sounded in Nathan's quarters. He quickly erased all evidence of his searches as the door slid open. "Dr. Wells," said Telex, now flanked by security officers, "is everything all right?" "Just having trouble sleeping," Nathan said calmly, excited about tomorrow's research. Telex nodded, but his eyes were suspicious. "Perhaps you should take a sedative." After they left, Nathan sat in darkness. From what he'd discovered, the Concordiat was planning a stress test for Earth, a manufactured crisis to observe humanity's breaking point on a planetary scale, and he had no way to warn his people. The alarms on Haven Colony blared as people rushed through the streets. Red emergency lights flashed across frightened faces. In the colony control center, Governor Diane Foster watched the situation unfold with growing horror. "The containment seals on Lab 7 have failed," reported her chief scientist. "The pathogen is airborne." Diane kept her voice steady. "Activate quarantine protocols. All sectors." Outside the control room window, she could see the silver Concordiat observer ship floating above the colony. The disease outbreak had started just one day after their arrival. Diane didn't believe in coincidences. Aboard the Earth defense vessel *Vigilant*, Admiral Paul Blackwood received the distress call from Haven Colony. "Unknown pathogen, spreading rapidly," his communications officer read. "They're requesting immediate medical assistance." Paul studied the star chart. Haven is near Concordiat Observation Post Theta 9. He frowned. "Too convenient." His intelligence officer nodded. "Sir, this matches the pattern Dr. Nathan Wells tried to warn us about before his communications went dark." "So the stress test begins," Paul said quietly. He opened a secure channel to Earth Command. "Activate Protocol Antares." Back on Haven, the situation deteriorated rapidly. The pathogen caused high fever, followed by respiratory distress. The colony's medical facilities were overwhelmed within days. What surprised the Concordiat observers was how the humans responded. Instead of panic, the colonists organized. Those with medical training volunteered at hospitals. Others delivered supplies to quarantine zones. Children too young to help were taught in makeshift schools by adults taking shifts. "They should be turning on each other by now," said a Concordiat observer named Malkuth, watching from their ship. "Fighting over resources, blaming leaders. Instead, they're becoming more cooperative," his assistant noted. "How unusual." When the pathogen mutated, becoming more deadly, the observers expected collapse. Instead, Diane Foster gathered her people in the colony square. "We will not surrender to this," she announced, her voice firm despite her obvious exhaustion. "We will adapt and overcome. That's what humans do." The colonists cheered, their spirit unbroken. On the *Vigilant*, Admiral Paul Blackwood prepared his countermove. He had suspected the Concordiat might test humanity this way. Earth Command had quietly developed contingency plans for various scenarios. "Launch Operation Firebreak," he ordered. Medical ships deployed toward Haven, but not just with doctors and supplies. They carried specialists in biological warfare defense and covert intelligence officers. "The Concordiat wants to see if we break," Paul told his officers. "Let's show them what happens instead." On Haven, the human doctors made a discovery. The pathogen had been engineered with specific markers that matched no known natural disease. They developed a treatment that slowed its progress. When the Concordiat observers cut off supply shipments to the colony, claiming quarantine protocols, the humans improvised. They converted hydroponics facilities to produce needed medicines. They recycled materials to build more medical equipment. "They're adapting to our escalations," Malkuth reported to his superiors. "Each new pressure point we apply results in unexpected solutions." "Increase the variables," came the response. "Cut power to half the colony. Block communications between sectors. We need to find their breaking point." The observers expected chaos when the power grid failed in the eastern sectors. Instead, the colonists organized a rotation system, sharing working facilities. When communications were blocked, they established a runner network, with volunteers carrying messages between sectors. "They're treating this like a problem to solve, not a disaster to survive," Malkuth noted with growing concern. In his quarters aboard the *Vigilant*, Admiral Paul Blackwood received an encrypted message from one of his intelligence officers on Haven. "Concordiat observers increased pressure again," it read. "Colony holding." Governor Foster implemented the contingency plans perfectly. "We have identified the source of the pathogen and have begun our countermeasure." Paul smiled grimly. The Concordiat thought they were running this test. They didn't realize that humans had been testing themselves against breaking points for their entire history. And unlike other species, humans didn't just endure pressure. They weaponized it. After 3 months of escalating tests on Haven Colony, Malkuth stood before the Concordiate Leadership Council. The 7 alien leaders watched him from their raised platform, their expressions unreadable. "The humans have survived everything we've done," Malkuth reported. "The pathogen, the resource limitations, the communication blackouts. Nothing breaks them. Then we must apply maximum pressure," said the council leader, a tall being with silver skin. "Authorize the final breaking scenario." Malkuth bowed. "It will be done." On Haven Colony, Governor Diane Foster received reports of strange ships approaching. They weren't Earth vessels or known Concordiate designs. "They're broadcasting threats," her security chief reported, "claiming to be the Craxus Horde, demanding our surrender." Diane smiled thinly. "The Concordiate's final test has arrived." She opened a colony-wide channel. "All citizens, this is not a drill. Activate Defense Plan Echo." To the amazement of the Concordiate observers, the colonists moved with practiced efficiency. They had been preparing for this. Captain Ryan Bennett led his security team toward the colony's northern edge. The Craxus forces had landed and were advancing. Ryan knew they weren't real aliens, just constructs created by the Concordia to simulate an invasion. "Remember, non-lethal tactics only," he told his team. "We need prisoners." The false invaders were surprised when Ryan's team outflanked them using hidden tunnels the colonists had built during the previous months. Within hours, Ryan's forces had captured 3 observer posts. Inside, they found not weapons, but monitoring equipment and confused Concordiate scientists. "You knew?" asked one captured observer, eyes wide with shock. Ryan nodded. "We figured it out weeks ago. The question is, did you learn anything about us?" Meanwhile, aboard the Vigilant Asterisk, Admiral Paul Blackwood received a signal from Dr. Nathan Wells. The scientist had escaped the research facility with help from sympathetic Concordiate members. "I have the files," Nathan reported. "Evidence of their conspiracy against us and other species." "Good," said Paul. "Time for the next phase." On the Concordiate homeworld, Diplomat Nivik watched the council meeting with growing unease. The faction led by Malkuth was pushing for containment protocols against humanity. "They are too unpredictable," Malkuth argued. "They don't break. They adapt, evolve, grow stronger under pressure. They are a threat to galactic stability." Another council member countered, "Or they could be valuable allies precisely because of these traits." The debate was interrupted when the chamber doors opened. A human delegation entered, led by Ambassador Julia Wright. With her was Salaran Diplomat Nivik. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded the council leader. Julia stepped forward. "We come with evidence of illegal actions taken against Earth and its colonies." She activated a projector showing the files Nathan had stolen. "You engineered a disease to test us. You created fake invaders, all to find our breaking point." The council members murmured in shock. "How did you know?" asked Malkuth. "We've been gathering intelligence since first contact," Julia explained. "Commander Alex Harmon overheard your conversations. Lieutenant Olivia Carter realized your training was actually assessment. Dr. Nathan Wells discovered your files. Engineer Maria Rice learned your history from subjugated species." Julia's voice hardened. "You wanted to see if humans break. Instead, you taught us how your coalition really works." "And what do you want now?" asked the council leader. "Revenge." "No," Julia said. "Accountability. And recognition of our sovereignty." Malkuth laughed harshly. "Or what? You'll attack us? Prove you're the threat we fear." Julia smiled. "We don't need threats. We've already won. Look around you." The council members suddenly realized that human allies were now positioned throughout their government. Not through force, but through building relationships. Nivik wasn't the only one who had switched sides. "Half your fleet commanders now question your leadership," Julia continued. "Many of your scientists are sharing information with us. Even your own diplomat stands with humanity." Nivik stepped forward. "The humans don't want war. They want partnership. A true Concordiate, not one built on domination and fear. The council leader looked at Malkuth, then back at Julia. You've turned our own test against us. Julia nodded. That's what humans do with breaking points. We don't just survive them. We turn them into weapons of creation, not destruction. 1 month after the confrontation with the Concordiate leadership, a formal tribunal was convened. Representatives from 37 species gathered in the Grand Chamber. The curved walls glowed with soft light, and the air hummed with translation devices. Ambassador Julia Wright stood at the center of the chamber. Her simple blue uniform contrasted with the elaborate dress of the alien representatives. We are here to address the actions taken against humanity by certain Concordiate factions, announced the tribunal head, a respected elder from a neutral species. Malkuth and his supporters sat on one side, their faces grim. Nivik and the moderate Concordiate members sat opposite them. The evidence shows clear violations of the Concordiate's own founding principles, continued the tribunal head. Engineered diseases, manufactured crises, false invasions, all to test a single question: do humans break? Julia stepped forward. If I may address the tribunal. The elder nodded. Speak, human ambassador. The question isn't whether humans break, Julia said, her voice clear in the silent chamber. The question is what happens when we do. She activated a holographic display. Images from Earth's history appeared: wars, disasters, plagues. Humanity doesn't lack breaking points, Julia explained. We've faced them throughout our history, but we've incorporated them into our evolution. The display showed more images: communities rebuilding after disasters, scientific breakthroughs made during crisis, cultural renaissances following conflicts. When other species reach breaking points, they shatter. Humans transform. Julia moved to another display showing brain scans. Our scientists have studied this with Dr. Zira from the Concordiate. Human neurochemistry converts trauma to adaptation in ways no other known species does. Zira stood, her purple skin catching the light. It's true. Their stress responses are unique. While our bodies try to return to normal after stress, humans actually reshape their normal. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Let me be clear, Julia continued. We are not superior, just different. Every species has unique traits. Ours is turning breaking points into evolution. An old, hunched alien rose slowly from his seat. Julia recognized him as a Trellix, one of the species the files had listed as contained. The Concordiate claimed to protect us, he said, his voice quavering. But their protection was control. When we reached our potential, they found our breaking point and used it to limit us. Other representatives from subjugated species began to speak, sharing similar stories. Julia raised her hand for attention. The Concordia feared what they didn't understand. They saw our resilience as a threat rather than an opportunity. She walked toward Malkuth. You wanted to find our breaking point to control us, but you could have asked for our help instead. Malkuth's eyes narrowed. Help with what? Teaching resilience, Julia replied. Not every species can do what humans do naturally, but many could learn aspects of it. The Concordiate could have been sharing strengths instead of exploiting weaknesses. Nivik stepped forward. Ambassador Wright is right. I've studied humans since first contact. Yes, they are dangerous in their adaptability, but they're also generous with their knowledge. Julia returned to the center of the chamber. We don't want to dismantle the Concordiate. We want to transform it, just as we transform our breaking points. She displayed a new hologram, a revised structure for interspecies cooperation. We propose a new form of galactic community, not based on finding and exploiting breaking points, but on sharing strengths and supporting growth through challenge. The tribunal elders studied the proposal. This would be a fundamental change to how the Concordiate has operated for millennia. Yes, Julia agreed. But consider the alternative. Continue as you are, and more species will resist. Or embrace transformation and create something stronger than before. The chamber fell silent as the representatives considered her words. Finally, a small being with feathered antennae spoke. My species has been part of the Concordia for generations. We've always accepted the hierarchy of species based on their breaking points. But what if there's another way? It turned to Julia. Can you really teach resilience? Julia smiled. We can try. That's another human trait. We never stop trying. The tribunal elder looked around the chamber. We will adjourn to consider the human proposal. But I sense a shift in this room. Perhaps we all have something to learn about breaking points. 1 year after the tribunal, Admiral Paul Blackwood stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned vessel Unity. The ship was massive, built with combined human and Concordia technology. Through the viewport, he watched ships from a dozen species moving in formation. Fleet is in position. Admiral reported his second-in-command, a Xalaran named Larex. Thank you, Commander, Paul said. Signal all vessels to prepare for jump. The joint fleet had been Paul's idea, a practical application of the new alliance formed after the tribunal. Nivik had supported it, becoming co-commander of the initiative. Approaching jump coordinates, Lyrex said. Paul nodded. Take us in. The stars blurred as the ships entered faster-than-light travel toward a distant system under threat from a genuine crisis, a chain of unstable stars about to go supernova. On a research station orbiting Jupiter, Dr. Nathan Wells supervised a remarkable experiment. Scientists from 15 species worked together in the laboratory, studying human stress responses. The peptide chain reacts differently in Trellix biology, explained a young alien researcher. But we've modified it based on your suggestions. Nathan examined the results. Impressive. You've increased your species' stress tolerance by 17%. The Trellix researchers' eyes widened, without losing our natural abilities. That's the key, Nathan said. We're not trying to make everyone into humans. We're helping each species develop their own version of resilience. In another part of the station, engineer Maria Rice put the finishing touches on a new device. It resembled a small headband with delicate sensors. This should help your people process emotional stress more effectively, she told her Krell assistant. Not by suppressing it, but by channeling it. The Krell, who had once been relegated to maintenance work, now led his own research team. My people lived in fear of breaking for generations. Now we're learning to bend instead. Maria smiled. That's exactly what we hoped for. Across the reformed Concordiate space, similar scenes played out. Formerly subjugated species began to flourish as the concept of breaking points was redefined. Rather than measuring species by their ability to withstand pressure, the new coalition valued diverse responses to challenges. On Earth, Ambassador Julia Wright welcomed representatives from 20 new species seeking to join the alliance. We don't promise an easy path, she told them. In fact, we embrace difficulty as a catalyst for growth. But we do promise to face challenges together. A crisis arrived sooner than expected. A previously unknown space phenomenon began disrupting planetary atmospheres across multiple systems. Traditional Concordia protocols would have sacrificed outlying worlds to protect core planets. Instead, the new coalition responded with unprecedented coordination. Humans provided crisis management expertise. Solarans contributed their atmospheric science. Even the most recently liberated species offered unique insights. Admiral Paul Blackwood coordinated the response from the Unity. We need to evacuate the Pentas system while we work on a solution. The atmosphere degradation is accelerating, Nivk reported. We're pushing against our limits. Good, Paul replied. That's where humans do their best work. The crisis pushed every species to their breaking points, but instead of shattering, they transformed the challenge. Sadler scientists, inspired by human approaches, developed a new field theory. Trellix engineers, newly confident in their abilities, created atmosphere stabilizers. Human crisis teams coordinated the massive effort across 20 worlds. When the danger finally passed, Commander Alex Harmon stood with Nivik on an observation deck, watching the restored skies of a saved world. "Your people continue to surprise us," Nivik said. "When you reach breaking points, you create instead of collapse." Alex smiled. "It's not just us anymore. Look at what the Trellix accomplish, or the Krell. You're all learning to weaponize your breaking points." "Is that how you see it?" "As a weapon. A weapon of creation," Alex clarified. "The point where pressure becomes possibility." Nivik's 4 eyes blinked in understanding. The old Concordiat feared change. "We sought stability through control. And the new alliance embraces change," Alex finished. "We find stability through transformation." As if to emphasize his point, an alert sounded. A new, unknown phenomenon had appeared at the edge of charted space. Another challenge. Another breaking point waiting to be transformed. Alex and Nivik shared a look, and both smiled. The galaxy was full of breaking points. And now, instead of fearing them, an entire alliance of species was ready to turn them into evolution.